Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Hoover City Schools Board of Education meeting. At this moment, I'm calling this meeting to order. If you so choose, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. If you'll stand for our pledge. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Netterville, will you call roll to establish a quorum? Here.
Kind of talking to the mic. There it is.
Thank you. Board, in front of you, you have the agenda. Do we need to add the executive session right now to this agenda? So I need to modify the agenda to add an executive session at the end of our meeting tonight. There will not be any decisions made after the executive session. Do I have a motion to amend the agenda? A second? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, agenda passes. Mr. Gadsden, recognitions.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me okay? We're testing out some new audio equipment, so appreciate everybody's patience tonight as we cycle through this. Next slide, if we may. Dr. Deborah Smith, our very own longtime employee of Hoover City Schools, is being recognized tonight from iStation. And Mr. Doug Cunningham, is he in the audience? He is. If you would like to come forward. If we could rotate to the next slide. Dr. Smith is a finalist for the EdTech Leadership Award, category School Leader. The system as a whole was a finalist for the EdTech Awards, category the EdTech Cool Tool Award for District Data Solution. In our nomination as a district, Hoover City Schools was noted as a district that continues to lead the way with implementation and innovation in the context of iStation use. And Mr. Doug Cunningham is going to make some very brief remarks, and then we will show a short video.
Good evening. How are y'all?
Our school is just a diverse population, students from all walks of life, and we try to provide our students with various experiences that they can carry over into the real world, and even when they leave our school doors, they can pursue their educational passions.
Serving children from first grade to fifth grade, only 30 minutes a day. Sometimes it's hard to know exactly what they need, and iStation has helped pinpoint what their areas of weaknesses are. So it's helped figure out the best way to help them more efficiently.
The details are very specific as to what it is that students need. There are several categories that are broken down into the various iStation reports. What they need based on phonemic awareness, if it's vocabulary development, if it's comprehension, that specific information really equips the teacher to be more informed about their instruction.
It targets those things and it catches them early, and it helps you be able to address those. You have thousands of lesson plans at your disposal in this program, and you can go in and use those, and I have found those lessons to be very good.
When you implement it with best practices and student engagement increases, and you have these conversations with children and with parents, you'll get that academic achievement, you'll get academic growth. And those are the things and the elements that we're looking for.
it's a program you can grow with. I like that. This is our 5th year of using it, and it was kind of like, I thought, wow, every year I learned something new about this program that I can use that helps me.
So let me just read a couple of comments from the Ed Tech Awards themselves so that you'll have an understanding of who they are and what they recognize. So it's the largest recognition program in all of education technology, and on this, our 10th anniversary, we continue to recognize people in and around education for outstanding contributions in transforming education through technology to enrich the lives of learners everywhere. And then just a really brief thing on Dr. Smith and her team. As you know, she's the director of federal programs. She was able to remodel the district's intervention practices and implement a district-wide program to help diagnose exactly what each student needed. Before this new process was in place, the district used a process of monitoring students out and pulling them out of class for targeted intervention, which I think they still do to some degree. Now her team of Title I professionals can work with classroom teachers throughout the district to use a screener designed to detail struggling students' skilled deficiencies. After they had the data, they were able to better provide targeted interventions and personalized classroom instruction for whole classrooms and small groups. These instructional practices were much more intentional and helped students better than they were able to before. So it's a real honor for me to be here with you tonight. My children graduated from Spain Park and have been part of the district. So it's really an honor for me to recognize the excellence that I've already seen, and it was great to have Ed Tech and iStation partner together. So Dr. Smith, if you would come.
School is just a diverse population.
Thank you.
And representing Dr. Smith tonight is her husband, Mr. Emmanuel Smith, with us tonight. So we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you. Some of you may have seen the news. We were tops in the volleyball brackets in the past few weeks. Very proud to have both of our teams represented in the 7A state athletic competition over at the Crossplex. If we can go to the next slide, you can see how the brackets fell from the Elite Eight all the way over to what we like to see, Hoover and Spain Park. Of course, there can only be one winner, but we had great representation from both high school athletic programs. So if those coaches and players would come forward, we've got Coach Chris Camper with Hoover High School and Coach Kelly Bowen with Spain Park. So let's give them a round of applause.
Jason, if I could, while the ladies are coming up, Coach, several of us were able to go and watch the match. Dr. Murphy included, of course, outstanding match. I mean, so proud of our student athletes, our coaches, and the sportsmanship. I'm a 40-year high school official in volleyball, so I understand it. It's hard in championship play to show the spirit and show the competition and sportsmanship that you girls did, and led by the coaches, of course. So it was a pure joy to see it tonight.
Well, good evening. I'm Coach Bowen with Spain Park. I brought 3 of our seniors, the only seniors. This is Bella Pretner. She was a defensive specialist. Next, we have Caitlin Walsh, KK. She was our libero. And next, we have Abby Bird. She was our right side. I can't be more proud of these 3 girls. They accomplished so much. You know, they made history in Spain Park volleyball. And I can't be more proud. 3 weeks, prior to the tournament, nobody would have, put us in that spot. And that was a testament to them and buying into the program. And I just want to thank Mr. G and Patrick Kellogg. So thank you guys. And being a part of Hoover City is a great recognition. And I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity for us to, lead these girls. So thank you.
Chris Camper, I'm the volleyball coach there at Hoover High School. I brought with me 2 of my seniors. We have 8 seniors this year. This is Ava Gunster and Kendall Youngblood. Both are starters and defensive specialists for us. As Kelly said, it's a huge honor to be here. I believe that our 2 schools are the flagship schools of the state. And we've been told that from the Athletic Association multiple times. Everybody watches Hoover. And I think what Coach Bowen and we've been able to do this last season is really special for the city. My girls, just a special group, been that way for probably 5 or 6 years. I wrote them a letter, I think 3 years ago, and told them what was going to happen, and posted it in the locker room and told them I thought that we were going to do something special. So 50-1, 50 straight matches, first time that I know that's happened. I think currently we're ranked in the top somewhere between 2 and 4 in the country. And it's just a testament to how focused they were. Regardless of who we played, they were all in, lost the first match of the year, and didn't lose another one. So just a really special season, and really honored to be a part of it with a group of girls that worked really hard. And, this for their team, Spain Park and ours, what these girls had to do to be able to continue to play while systems all over the state, volleyball programs shutting down for this reason or the other for COVID. And these girls sacrificed so much. It's hard to convince high school girls that homecoming and football games, and they gave everything up, and efforts trying to do something special. So just really proud of that, and proud of Spain Park too. I feel like we're in this together. We started something 9 years ago when I took over the program, partnering with Hoover's Park and Rec, creating a youth program that benefits both schools. And I think Mr. Kellogg will tell you that we worked hand in hand and talked a lot prior to hiring Kelly, and how invested we were and trying to bring in and get the level of volleyball to where it is now. So the 2 best volleyball teams in Alabama are here. And I told someone in the interview, I told Kelly about this tonight, just asked what it meant for us to have Hoover there. And I said, well, I'll say this, it may not come across great, but the whole state needs to thank itself that Hoover has 2 high schools and not just 1. Because we would have won 10 or 15 state championships in the last 20 years. So very blessed to be here, and I want to thank you all, and of course Coach Urban and Mr. Montgomery and everybody on our side for what they do for volleyball and for girls sports. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, we've got 2 of our technology integration coaches with us tonight who have been recognized by the Alabama Leaders in Education Technology, which is a statewide organization. First up is Miss Karen Derrick. She's a technology integration coach at River Chase, Greystone, and Trace Crossing. She's been with Hoover City Schools almost 15 years, and so we want to congratulate her tonight. Thank you. And if we can go to the next slide, we've got Mr. Jeff Richardson, who is Jeff here tonight? He is right there. Okay. The only, okay. Tech integration coach, Hoover High School, been with the district more than 10 years. Same award as Karen, same organization. So we appreciate him and the way he represents Hoover City Schools. Thank you so much. And actually, they had bigger certificates from the organization. So I'll run those back here in a second. Kelly Lane, this is actually an international award that's tied to AILETS, the 2020 ISTE Making It Happen Award. If we go to the next slide, you'll see some important bullet points about that. So AILET is the state affiliate of ISTE, the International Society for Tech and Education. And each year selects one candidate as the state's Making It Happen Award recipient. That person is Kelly Lane, who we are so fortunate to have her in Hoover City Schools. So we'll give her an applause as she comes up. And so she gets this handy dandy plaque, and we'll take a photo here in a second. But I did want to, yeah, it's our new handy dandy webcam. That's my phrase of the night, handy dandy. So if you'll see right here, this was one of the quotes here that helped Kelly, that encapsulates this award. In the Hoover City School District, Kelly provides visionary leadership. With her ability to articulate a clear and forward-thinking vision, she successfully leads a team of tech integration coaches in support of the district's Engaged Learning Initiative, ELI. I think you all are familiar with that acronym. And with Kelly's guidance, her team is responsible for 1,000 teachers getting the information and support they need to make our ELI program what it has become. So congratulations to Kelly Lane. Congratulations. And we can take some official photos in the lobby of Ms. Derrick, Mr. Richardson, and Ms. Lane. And next up, we're fortunate to have Alabama State Representative David Faulkner with us tonight for a check presentation.
Could you bring us dinner?
Yeah, well, guess I'm up here. Beyond a check presentation, I have not touched these. It took a lot of willpower. I recently read that the best-selling fast food item in America over all this time has been McDonald's French fries. And so for that reason, I thought, you know, this Hoover School Board has worked so hard and for not a lot of pay. And I thought I've never brought them anything but money. And since I'm not actually giving them a check directly to the school board, I'll bring them something else. So I thought I would bring them the best-selling item because I also remembered that Kermit just eats French fries all the time. And so that's why he looks like a lineman, even though he was not a lineman in college. So,
I love it.
Mr. Kelly, if you will pass it around, I have not reached in that bag. It's COVID-free. And take a order of French fries out. And but that's for y'all. And I first want to say to the volleyball team, I know they've left, but I will get a resolution up for Hoover High School for winning the state title. That's just fantastic. I saw Hoover play this year. One of the best volleyball teams I think I've ever seen. And the talent, oh my gosh. I don't know. I'm not sure. I wish the coach had told us how many of those players may be going on to play college volleyball, but it was impressive to watch. So congrats to them. And then I got to speak with the girls. I said, congratulations, girls, on your state title. And they were the three girls from Spain Park. So they quickly told me, no, we were the runners up. I said, it's still great. So congrats to Spain Park too. And just that's really special to win a state title. I did want to also say to my friend, Dr. Murphy, you know, I know she's going to be leaving us, and I'm happy for her, but it's bittersweet. I've seen how effective Dr. Murphy has been, and for Hoover, and so I'm really glad to be here tonight, Kathy, too, just to tell you thank you for your service to Hoover, to the schools, and it's really we're going to miss you. You've done a great job, and such an effective leader. So I usually also do present a check to the Hoover School Board, and I realized I didn't have that check, but I do have over $15,000 to give that I do every year. I go out in each one of my schools, I go to them and give them a check and present that to them. And with COVID, I'm not sure how many are meeting. So the schools that in my district that I had checks for tonight to give to is Deer Valley, Shades Mountain, Hoover High School, Gwynn Elementary, Bluff Park, Simmons. And so I did see Kevin back there, a fantastic principal at Simmons, and told him I'd be able to give him his check. So I just want to let the school board know I have these checks. If any of the schools are represented here by their principal or PTO president, I'd love to give the check to them tonight. But don't have a check directly for y'all, but if I'm sure we can work something out for it later. But so you just get the French fries tonight directly. And I see you gave them all to Kermit. But anyway, if I was Kevin, I'm going to give you one of these checks. I know that'll be in good hands. If there's anybody else here from these schools, I'd love to give it to them directly, or I can, I'll just leave them here with the school board. And appreciate y'all letting me be here. On a quick note from the state, we had I see on your agenda, there was something about the school bond issue that someone's going to talk about. We were really glad to get that passed this past year. That's a lot of money towards Hoover. So really happy about that. That I know y'all can use. We had a slight increase for the budgets. So we gave slight increases despite COVID in the education budget. I serve on the education budget down in the House. And so I was really happy about that. We did hold off on the pay raise because of COVID. We wanted to see what our numbers are going to look like. So I will tell you that Alabama is doing very, very well compared to most states. We are fiscally in really good shape. We have been keeping money, in reserves and waiting for something like this, not a pandemic. We didn't know that, but we've been keeping money in reserves to take care of schools when something like this happens. So I do not believe there will be proration. I believe we're in good shape. We've held back the money. We've been good stewards of your tax dollars, and that's what the people expect from us. So I'm really happy to report to you, I think we're in good shape from the state economy and our state budgets. So I think it'll work out well, and I appreciate your school board. I know every one of them. And how hard they serve, and I know how dedicated they are to your school system. I go to a bunch of different schools, a bunch of different school boards, and this board is definitely dedicated to your system and doing what's right for your kids. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank y'all for letting me speak. I'd be happy to talk to anybody or answer any questions I can from a state perspective, but we're here to help, and we were just proud to support Hoover Schools, and through this money, it'll be a little bit of help to these schools, and happy to be here. So thank y'all for letting me address you.
Thank you.
Representative Faulkner, thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words specifically to me, but thank you for bringing money. Thank you for bringing fries. I can tell you that anytime I've ever called Representative Faulkner, he has been responsive, led the charge on lots of important and critical pieces of work for public education, and I applaud you. Thank you so much for what you've done for us.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to say that. Thank you so much. Anytime, most of this board travels to Montgomery when you're in session, not COVID, of course, this last time, you're always available. Come off the floor, see us, listen, go in your office. That means a lot to us. By the way, I'd like to congratulate you. You authored amendment number 3. So you changed our state constitution.
Yes, sir.
So thank you for the work you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
David.
If I could just add a couple of other things. Dr. Smith, congratulations to you for your work with iStation. We appreciate that. To Karen and Jeff, and also to Kelly. Kelly's just a superstar. Brian is a superstar, our entire tech group. We are just so appreciative. The one thought I had as I was watching Hoover High School in Spain Park is how much I wanted to be that athlete. Those girls are just superb. They are so talented, so much athleticism. And I just sat in the stands thinking, wow, if I could just do that. Volleyball was not my game, as you might well imagine. But so proud of our girls. So to our athletic directors, our principals, very proud of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
With us tonight is Shelley Shaw, the newly appointed Executive Director. She was interim Executive Director of the Hoover City Schools Foundation, also for a check presentation.
Yes, and thank you, Shelley, for being here. I wanted to also recognize you as being the new administrator of the foundation. Congratulations. I know you're going to do an excellent job.
Appreciate that. I'm here to recognize Seed Lab, which is going to look a little bit different. Seed Lab is a wonderful program, and many of our teachers and our schools have benefited from it. This year, it looks a little different. We have 6 teams that were formed here at the central office, And basically, they were charged with our distance learning and all the troubleshooting and all the things that we've encountered through the pandemic. Those teams are still together, and I want to make sure that they get their money that we have set aside for them. It's $20,500. And we're very proud to be able to come and just give this money out tonight. I know they're all scattered. In fact, here comes one of the superstars with several teams. I just want to make sure that if one of your leaders is not here tonight, I will make sure you'll make sure they get their money. Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to start with Whitney Cook, and she was not able to be here, but she's the leader for continuity and framework for the pandemic plan. Also, building an engaging classroom and school community. I have 2 checks for her. Your team, best practices of Google Classroom team leader is Kelly Lane. Supporting exceptional learners, this would be Claire Jones Moore and Ivy Boswell. Team leader, Dr. Ron Dodson for grading and the reporting team. And Brian Phillips, team leader, K2, 1-to-1 ELI team. These checks here, I'm going to hand them off to you.
Thank you so much for your support.
And we'll get another picture too. Absolutely. We look forward to some updates. Anytime you would like to address the board of directors, they would love to hear from you all on the progress. And of course, I have a student. I see the progress. It's working with my student. Thank you, Deanna, for those kind words. I appreciate it. And I will go ahead and step out. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Shelley.
Thank you. That concludes the recognition portion. And I know Dr. Smith is giving a presentation on RC3 a little bit later. And if you wanted to expand on iReady at that point, or iStation, if you felt the need to, you do have that time here at the podium. So thank you for being here. Thank Mr. Cunningham, our tech coaches, and everyone that's been with us tonight. So even in a pandemic, we're still winning awards. So it's business is good. So thank you, Dr. Murphy and Ms. Baumann.
Thank you. At this time, time for public comment. If there's anyone here that would like to speak. Okay, please state your name, address, topic on which you're speaking. Please be reminded that good name and characters cannot be addressed, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
I'm Carly Morris, 1941 Valewood Circle. I am a mathematician. I just want to go over a few numbers and then ask a couple questions. Related to coronavirus, just looking at the numbers just over the last couple weeks, the number of students in quarantine in Hoover City schools has gone up 82% in the last 2 weeks. Hospitalizations in Jefferson County have gone up 43% in the last 3 weeks. Jefferson County positivity rate is currently 16%. Shelby County is 20%. Jefferson County daily cases have increased by 69% in the last month. I have been told that Hoover City School, I know there's been talk about going virtual after Thanksgiving, and that talk has been kind of put on the shelf. I was told that they will not go virtual after Thanksgiving unless the virus increases significantly in the community. As a mathematician, I would like to know, what does that mean, increase significantly? This seems like it's increasing significantly. I'd like some transparency as to what specific numbers, what does that mean number-wise? The virus doesn't care how badly we want to see our families over Thanksgiving, and I'm worried about spread and just it being out of control after Thanksgiving. All right, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this time? Okay, thank you. Moving on to action items, Dr. Murphy.
Yes, board members, I would like for us to take a look at action items A, B, D, and E. You've had an opportunity to review that information already and would like to present that to you as a recommendation as a consent. you have questions, certainly happy to answer those, or if you wish to pull any of those out from a consent recommendation, happy to do that.
Board members, do I have a motion to accept A, B, D, and E? A second? Are there any questions on any of these items or anyone that would like to pull any of these out for discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Dr. Murphy. All 4 items have passed.
Michelle McKay, if you will come forward, we will take a look at our monthly financial statements, our cash disbursements, and payroll.
Good evening, Board. So the monthly financial statements, please find attached the summary financial statements and the general purpose financial statements from October 1, 2019 through September 30, 2020. For the fiscal year ended September 30, 2020, total revenues and other fund sources were $196.5 million. Total expenditures and other fund uses were $196 million, resulting in a fund balance reserve at year end of $108.4 million. Fiscal year 2020 general fund revenues were $158.3 million and expenditures were $157.2 million, resulting in 7.5 months reserve. Funds spent on capital projects in 2020 were primarily for the Berry Middle School classroom addition, Hoover High School partial roof replacement, and district-wide HVAC projects. Special revenue fund revenues were $15.9 million and expenditures were $17.4 million, resulting in excess expenditures of $1.4 million. These financial statements are currently being reviewed by the State Department of Education and our auditors as of today, and are subject to state edits as well as audit adjustments. I did want to share cash disbursements for the month of September, $4,231,968.43. Payroll for October 2020, $8,398,143. Thank you.
Board members, I'd like to recommend your approval of the business action items as presented by Ms. McKay.
Board, I need a motion to accept the business action items. A second? Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, business action items passed. Dr. Murphy?
The next item under action items is
Actually,
one
I'll-
that's bittersweet.
Yeah.
It is to respectfully request your approval of my resignation effective December 31, 2020. It is bittersweet. This has been a fabulous, wonderful experience for me professionally and personally, to be associated with you, to be associated with the fine people in the audience. The leaders in the school district are just fabulous, principal leaders, and maybe I'll share a few other thoughts in December, but if you would please accept my resignation effective December 31.
Is anyone going to make this motion? I do need, in a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Do we need to do a roll call vote? Any
Well, you
opposed?
sh-
Okay. Unfortunately, it passed.
I was going to say, at least I'm excited you all didn't rent the U-Haul and tell me I could leave early, so thank you. Thank you again. Next, we have a number of reports. Board members, one of the things that I think is really important as I do plan and make my exit is to make certain that we're being very thoughtful over the next couple of months to share as much critical information with you and with our public as we can. And to that end, there are a number of reports that will reflect that. But before getting it more into those reports, I wanted to acknowledge a couple of you. First of all, certificates, and I guess I'll just pass these down, but I would like to acknowledge, first of all, Amy Madonna, 2020 AASB School Board Member, Academy Achievement. She has achieved level 3, and I have your certificate, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but you all, and Craig, I'm going to acknowledge you, but you all know the work that you have to go through in order to prepare yourselves to sit at this table, to lead the school district and some of the different professional development experiences you've had. And should you wish to speak to that, I'm sure that's appropriate. But if I may just casually pass that under. Mr. Kelly, second year as a master level, and has a dated plaque to add to, I believe, a trophy or a plaque that you already have. And so very proud for you, and didn't know if either of you or any of you wanted to address your experiences, the things that prepare you to come to this table.
No, I'll just say it's an honor to go through that preparation. I mean, a lot of this is presentations that we go through, the annual meetings, the AASB. It's conference calls they have, webinars they have once a month, that just kind of learning about different things in the school system. And for me, it's been a great educational experience to learn about not being an educator myself, coming into understanding what all goes into everything we do, not only here but statewide. So I've really enjoyed that preparation. So thank you.
It is a lot of attention from the board, and just because my colleagues all have gotten some levels of awards, it just happens to be this year that we two have been honored. But it is it's ongoing education. There's a lot of legal things. Learn about the legislature, how things function, communication. So I've enjoyed it, and I continue to try to learn. It's difficult with COVID right now. We're not able to go see speakers in person, but there's still a lot of content that we're able to observe. So thank you for allowing me to go.
I just remind our public that on average in the state of Alabama, most school boards earn monthly at least $600. Some school boards have passed for themselves a more substantial amount than that as a monthly support to them. Have nothing to lose nor gain by saying thank you so much, because you all have served, and you do serve without any monetary support coming to you. And not many people this day and time are willing to give the kinds of time and energy and resources, and away from your own families, to come to the table and to do this important work without something being in it for them. And so I applaud you. You're one of the few boards in the state that is not paid for the services you render. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. Next, Matt, if you would share with us capital outlay.
Is a report that I generate monthly, just showing you the status of all the projects. Right now, I can go through each item if you'd like, but I'm happy to say that everything's going smooth. No challenges. I think we're working through some challenges we have with RC3, but that's noted in the report as well. But everything's going smooth, and I have no issues. Bluff Park, just kind of touch on that real quick. Bluff Park is going down as we speak. I mean, it's continually moving through that demolition project, and they're actually in the rear L now demoing that. So that's going to go pretty good. I was up there this morning. It really changes the appearance of the entire area. So I'd encourage you to go look at that when you get a chance. Unless you have any questions regarding the report that I provided, I'm clear. I'm done on the report. With me tonight is Mr. Holmes. He's representing the city of Hoover on that land acquisition that they want us to approve. And this is relative to a project that they have initiated design on to widen Valleydale Road, which requires them to buy a couple parcels of land from us to do that widening project. So if y'all are acceptable, I'll have them come up and speak to that project and identify exactly what the deal is.
And while they're coming up, and please do come and join us, I just want to mention a couple of things. There's some really good pictures and videos that I believe Wes has put together specific to the Old Bluff Park campus. There's also a very interesting video that has been put together again, I think, by Wes about showing the growth at the south end of Stadium Trace. Land once upon a time with homes just constantly developing there. And so appreciate what Wes is doing. I will simply make one comment about River Chase Career Connection Center. Board members, we continue to be challenged by the decking and paint on that building. And hopefully we can continue to try to find a remedy for that. But very clearly we need attention to be given to that in short order. And then lastly, just the window replacement. You did approve the bid this evening for that. So we look forward to getting some new windows. We have some very compromised windows in some of our schools, so excited about that. And thank you for being with us tonight to talk about the right-of-way.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Philip Holmes, and also with me is Mr. Rob Vermillion. We're with Volkert and Associates, and we have been chosen to design and buy the right-of-way on Valleydale Road from just west of Caldwell Mill to 280. And we're nearing completion of that acquisition. But one of the tracks that has not been acquired is the track from the City Board of Education. And I have a handout I'd like to give each member if they don't mind. On the first page there is the letter of the offer from the City of Hoover to the Board of Education. And it's track number 42. And the letter states the acreage that we're trying to acquire in permanent right-of-way, which is 0.644 acres. And also a temporary easement of 1.031 acres. And on the second page of that letter is the breakdown of the offer. The land is at $7,730. The temporary construction easement is $2,755. Asphalt paving that's in the acquisition area, $4,770. Curb and gutter that's in the acquisition area, $4,528. Landscaping, $5,112. The sign and the base, $6,068. And to relocate the lights, $804, a total of $21,885 for the improvements. Total offer of $31,770. Now, I have been in touch with Mr. Matt Wilson and Dr. Murphy in regards to this offer. And we negotiated a price. The offer was $31,770. I think y'all had some estimates for the sign, and it was a little bit more than what our amount was for the sign. So we negotiated a value of $35,000 for the total offer. On the third page is the plat of the area that we're trying to acquire. It's the City Board of Education's total property. And the area highlighted in yellow is the permanent right-of-way that we're going to try to acquire. And the pink area is a temporary easement. The next page is the agreement. It's just a standard type agreement with about the middle wage. And item number 2, $35,000 is the amount of money. And it's showing you what we're paying for, 0.644 acres of land for right-of-way and 1.031 acres for a temporary easement. And the last sheet is the W-9 form that would need to be executed with the tax information and a signature if it's approved. Thank you. Okay.
Well, are you an attorney?
No, sir.
Just curious, I didn't think eminent domain applied to boards of education against the city government. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir, I am.
I read case studies a few.
Well,
I'm just curious, it really has nothing to do with, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, we're not going under eminent domain yet. We're just making an offer to purchase, okay? Yeah, yeah, okay. Yes, yes, if we can't reach an agreement with you, yeah. No, sir, no, sir, no, sir. It said if we cannot reach an agreement.
My question, Kevin, really, I thought I'd read this because something came up a couple of years ago. Well, I didn't think about case study. Eminent domain could apply against board of education. So this really has nothing to do with you. I'm not threatening you.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. I think, to answer your question, I think we do have the right to condemn a Board of Education. Yeah. Any more questions?
One question too, Mr. Wilson, we gave the city, a long-term lease for a road that goes up the mount to communications tower for the city. I'm not sure if this, I'm sure at some point this spans that. How does that affect that, Mr. Hines?
It's a long-term lease, you said?
I believe it was put there with a right of reversion for the city to use for police.
It shouldn't affect it. It will just, that amount of land will be deducted from your 141 acres that you own, but it shouldn't affect the lease at all. Right, right. Our attorney at closing will handle that, okay? Uh-huh. Any more questions? Thank you. Rob, you correct me if I'm wrong. He's the designer of the project. There was about 100 tracts, 100 or so tracts, parcels of land to be acquired. We're down to about 4 tracts, having it all bought and acquired. So, do you know the letting date, proposed letting date? I know Walgreens is one that we like to make an offer on. And there's 2 or 3 other tracts that's pending right now. But other than that, all have been acquired. So it's, yeah, as soon as all the right of way is acquired, it should be let to contract. Thank you. Mhm. Thank you.
Hope everyone is having a pretty good night and enjoying your French fries. I like this new setup. Really want to talk to everyone about the strategic plan. We looked at this plan or created this plan back in 2018, and we're looking at every 5th year to come back to the table and reevaluate this strategic plan. So this plan really should be done or completed by June of 2022. So that's just kind of giving the background. So there are a total of 4 objectives with this strategic plan. And there are 62 action items, or action steps, I should say, associated with this strategic plan. So objective number 1, and I'll read the objectives, but I promise you I will not read all 62 action steps, I promise. So objective number 1, students will grow and achieve in measurable knowledge and skills through equitable access to relevant, rigorous, and engaging instruction. So that's objective number 1. We actually accomplished or obtained 10 of those 14 action items. All right, thank you. I was like, can I do this again? So if you look here, these are the action steps that we completed for objective number 1. So you can see here we have collaborated with instructional leaders and teachers to define expected long-term proficiency indicators when you're looking at our tests, Global Scholars, and Scantron, I should say. We've also developed and implemented a PD scope and sequence for special education and intervention teachers. That's something that the curriculum and special education has done, that they're meeting with them monthly also with our instructional leaders as well, our math coach and reading coaches. So we're doing all of these. We've actually completed these, and many of these are ongoing as well. So it's not like a check a box and you're done. This is more about we've completed this, we have a plan in place, and we're continuing to work on it as well. Now, in progress, here's some of the components where we're still working on as we speak. So if you look at the bottom two where it says develop a framework to improve identification of the instructional path for gifted, advanced, and high achieving students in all grades, that's looking at our gifted program. We have submitted that gifted plan to the parties. So those are in progress because we have not gotten official approval for those. But we are doing everything that's in that plan currently, and we're seeing some really good results there. So that's why you see those two bottom ones not completed or in the progress mode. Objective number 2, human and financial resources are utilized in an efficient and effective manner to support high quality classroom instruction. We've actually completed 15 of the 15 action steps for this one. So for this one, you can look and see we review and revise the salary schedule. That's one of the things I know Ms. McKay has worked on multiple times. And looking at if we have a raise, what can we do? So thinking 2 to 3 years ahead. Conduct facility assessments. That's something that Mr. Wilson works on consistently as well. So these are things that we are consistently working on and doing here. So but we've completed all of those. Now, objective number 3 is to achieve unitary status. Let me explain this one. This is not looking at green, so all the eyes go up on this. We are not achieving, this is not about unitary status in the fact of green factors. This is what some of the initiatives that we're working on, that we're doing, that will help us achieve unitary status. Okay, so let me explain that. So we have accomplished 19 of these 21 action steps. So you can look here and see, for example, the very first one on the left side, we see Deer Valley, we rezoned and reconfigured. Deer Valley, you see, is now a K-5 school now. SSC, K-2, Trace Crossings, K-5, Brock's Gap, 3-5. Remember, this was created in 2018. Bumpus Middle, 6-8. So those have already been done. We've also partnered with HBCUs to identify potential minority candidates. That has gone exceptionally well. And we're continuing. Now, this past year, we could not because of COVID. It completely, we were not able to do those HBCU visits. But it's something that we plan to continue once things are safe again. Also, I had to get accustomed to not changing it myself, but I'll keep going. Objective number 3 here, this is a continuation. We know that Mr. Bradford does a great job of ensuring that the bus routes are running it pretty efficiently, and develop a system to track extracurricular offerings, criteria for participating, and student selections. We're doing that now. We started that back in 18-19. Renew fleet, maximize state transportation funding. Also, we just had a conversation about the capital outlay plan. That's a complete and maintain a 5-year capital outlay plan. So, and even redesign the property formerly known as River Chase Middle School to address student capacity issues and to offer opportunities for skilled trades. So these are action steps that we have that we completed for objective number 3. In addition, analyze discipline data quarterly. I will say that we're taking that a step further and we're doing that monthly. I will say that our discipline data for this academic year is not as valid as it should be, because we started off staggered with 1/3 of our students here. And then we went to about 2/3 of our students. So we still have 1/3 of our students at home. So when you look at the data, we're comparing apples to oranges really, versus having 100% of our students. So discipline now, we're down, do not quote me on the number, I have not looked at it in the last 6 days. We're down almost 75, 80% in terms of discipline. So it's looking really good. But of course, I need to make sure I preface that with, we have 1/3 and then 2/3 of our students here. So in progress, what are we working on at this point here? We still need to design and enhance mentoring programs for faculty and staff. This is one of those that we're currently working on. HR has already been in communication with principals. They are providing feedback. We plan to start this mentoring program for the next academic year. And we plan to go ahead and have these conversation discussions after we get back from spring break. And then down at the bottom, you see provide professional development for building level administrators regarding non-discriminatory practice to make sure that the tryout of extracurriculum activities, make sure it's equitable. What we've done during the 18-19 academic year, we do have data. We did not gather that data for this past academic year. So we will continue to gather that data for this year and the next years to come. And again, I hate to keep using COVID, but that was the reason for it. Actively engage in Hoover City Schools community to strengthen stakeholders partnerships for supporting the evolving needs of students. We've also completed for this one, all 12 of those action steps here. And you can see redesigned district and school level websites. If you look now, Mr. Gaston has done a phenomenal job of making sure that those websites are up to par, updated. That was something that we had some major issues with in the past, and that has been taken care of now. Make sure that we have a social media presence. Use rapid notification system for emergency routine communication. So you can see those are action steps that we have that we completed here as well. For this one, again, these are things we have actually completed. Recognize individual groups like we do here at board meetings. Just make sure that is taking place also. So if you look at this chart here, I just wanted to put it all together. For objective number 1, we completed 10 of the 14 action steps. For objective number 2, we completed 15. And for objective number 3, 19 of the 21. And objective number 4, all 12 of those we completed. So we completed a total of 56 of 62 objectives, bringing it so for, as of today, we have completed 90% of our strategic plan. And we have until summer of 2022 to complete this plan. Just want to give you all an update as it relates to the strategic plan, and just to show you the commitment of everyone at the district and the schools have taken with this as well. Any questions?
Dr. Lamar, thank you for putting this together. Board members, I hope that this gives you some evidence that this was not just a document we created and put on a shelf and forgot about. You'll see much of the work we've been doing is aligned to exactly what we said we needed to do. And proud to see that 90% of that's accomplished. Some of it's ongoing. Some of it's not one and done and you move on. It's something you just continue to work on and repeat. So Dr. Morgan, thank you for sharing that information with us. I wanted to mention to you, board members, the possibility of needing to adjust some bell schedules next fall when we come back to school in August. Much of that is just driven by us taking a look at transportation. Again, as we see growth in our city and making sure that we can get all of our buses out there to pick all of our children up is a challenge, isn't it, Jeremy? And it seems to grow for us. One of the things that would have us look at a change in bell schedule is needing to perhaps run double routes. Now, in the most ideal of world, we would have no double routes. We would have single route buses. Buying the buses could be a problem, but the most particular issue we have in front of us is getting enough bus drivers. We can't get enough bus drivers in place. And so what we have to do is take a look at what can we do. If we can't get enough drivers, how do we get kids to school? And that may mean more double routes than we really want. And that may mean some adjustments in the beginning of school and the end of school. So that'll continue to be discussed and talked through and talked about. Certainly don't have any particular bell schedule to share with you. Just wanted to go ahead and say that to you, that that's a real possibility out there as we look at starting the next academic year. Dr. Smith, if you would, thought it was also a good time for you to talk to us about all good things at RC3 and how things are going and what challenges we may have, and just bring us up to speed.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you found the happies that I brought from RC3. There's some zucchini bread from culinary, and some other things in your little gift bag, but we just wanted to thank you for your support. So on behalf of the faculty and staff of the River Chase Career Connection Center, I'm proud to give you the updates. Our enrollment, our projected enrollment was 520 students, but that was prior to March of 2020, before we shut down for COVID. Our actual is 430 students, and we think that that is a wonderful number, and we don't take it lightly that our parents and our students have agreed to come, and they are so committed to being in a hands-on learning environment during a pandemic. We serve 10th, 11th, and 12th grade and have the following academies: culinary arts, cyber innovation, fire science, health science, and skilled trades. Academically, we offer Jeff State dual enrollment for an EMS course, and we have 5 math teachers that are teaching geometry, advanced geometry, algebra 2, algebra 2 with trig, algebra 2 with trig, advanced, pre-calculus, advanced, calculus, calculus AB, and statistics. We have 5 English teachers that are teaching English 10, 11, and 12, advanced English 10, and dual enrollment English 11. We're also supported by 2 special educators, and ESL support is shared between Hoover High School and Spain Park High School. Our teachers participate in the following teams. They have professional learning communities, integration teams, and diversity teams. So what's new? We have 4 industry certified faculty members that have joined us. Chef Alethea Carter is with culinary arts. She is doing the baking and pastry, and she oversaw the making of the zucchini bread that we hope that you will enjoy. Ms. Kimberly Moore joined health science. She's a registered nurse. Mr. Rex Hare is our Skilled Trades Academy teacher. He previously worked in Tuscaloosa and for Mercedes-Benz. And Mr. Robbie Naylor is our Cyber Innovation Academy teacher. And we kind of stole him from Jefferson County, and he worked for STI as well. So it is definitely the people that have made a difference in our programs. With COVID, we wanted to make sure that all of our students had their personal protective equipment that was specific to the academies, and so we did all of that. There's some new RC3 branding that you'll see in some of the things that you have, and on some of the slides that you'll see in just a moment. RC3 is so popular, we have advisory board members that are volunteering to join us, so we're excited about that. And the block scheduling that we have allows students to have more time in the academies, so more hands-on opportunities. And that was extremely important as we started in a stagger. So we utilized the scheduled simulation and lab time to make sure that every time students were actually on campus, that they were having some hands-on experience to accompany the seat work that was required. We have additional certifications that students are earning, and we're integrating math and English into career tech, but also career tech into math and English. So that's what those integration teams are for. We added, in addition to our ambassadors, we have a student advisory council, and the students have given us all kinds of ideas of things that they want to do at RC3. And we started a bonus and awards program. When you work in some industries, you actually earn a bonus if you do things well. So we had 383, we call them team members, those are our students, out of the 430 to earn a bonus for the first 9 weeks. So we are very proud of that. It's a little card. They get to choose out 5 options that are on the card, and the students are extremely excited about that. The students elect and select a team leader of the month, that is a teacher of the month, and then the teachers turn around and they do the team members of the month. And you'll see those photos shortly. Our October team leader of the month was Ms. Lindsay Weeks. She's our health science lead. Our November team leader of the month is Mr. Ed Wright. He's one of our English teachers. And these are our team members of the month: Jaden Minson for skilled trades, Anthony Patterson for our safety, Dylan Player for cyber, Aaliyah Truss, health science, and Samantha Ortiz Johnson for culinary for the month of October. And the month of November, Luis Sanchez for skilled trades, Ayani Ridgel for fire safety, Julian Newman, cyber, Broden Grady, health science, and Christopher Lewis, culinary. So culinary arts, the students completed their first live work assignment, creating miniature desserts for a client. They fundraised and purchased a tower garden. This is a live indoor garden, so they can do farm to table type of things. Credentialing, they've already earned Serve Safe reopening guidance, conflict de-escalation, takeout and delivery with COVID-19 precautions. And the first year students are getting ready to sit for a certified guest services professional, while the second year students will be doing Serve Safe manager. And these are some images from our Culinary Arts Academy. The Cyber Innovation Academy, we have our TEALS volunteers that still come weekly to work with our students. They're preparing to credential as well. The software programming track, they're preparing to do Microsoft Technology Associate, Introduction to Programming using Java, Microsoft Technology Associate, Introduction to Programming using Python, and the hardware and networking track, they're getting ready for CompTIA IT Fundamentals, CompTIA Network Plus, and CompTIA A+. Images from our Cyber Innovation Academy. Fire Science Academy, they've had hands-on drills, forcible entry, basic firefighting operations. They divide the kids into engine companies. On Friday, they had a live burn. They're preparing for an Explorer weekend with the Alabama Fire College in February of 2021. And the students wanted to do a community service project. So they doing Wreaths Across America campaign, where they're selling wreaths to lay on the veterans' graves in Hoover. Credentialing, they've already earned the Epilepsy First Aid certification from Epilepsy Foundation, and they are getting ready to sit for, with the Alabama Fire College, the first year students Block 1 test and the second year students Block 3. Images from our Fire Science Academy. Health Science Academy, they too did a community service project. They partnered with the American Red Cross to host a blood drive at the Finley Center. And their efforts earned a $500 scholarship to be awarded to a deserving RC3 senior. Simulations, they've done vital signs, changing wound dressings, EKGs, blood pressures, monitoring intake and output, patient transport, and so much more. Credentialing, they also did the Epilepsy First Aid certification. Our 11th and 12th grade students are CPR certified. And in December, they will sit for patient care technician certification. Images from Health Science. Skilled Trades Academy. Building construction, they actually made the turnout gear shelving for the Fire Science Academy. They installed the American flags throughout the building. They built and created a ticket station for Culinary Arts Academy. They made a bench for outdoor seating for Cyber Innovation Academy. They're making desks for at-risk learners, for students who are chose virtual instruction that might not have a dedicated workspace, so they're making desks for them. They're working on our preschool playgrounds, or will be shortly. In heavy equipment, we received new simulators courtesy of AGC. I received a new forklift courtesy of Hoover City Schools Operations Department. HVAC and electrical, they are assisting with local maintenance requests in the building, and the credentialing that they will be doing in December, NCCER Core, and some students will be participating in the heavy equipment operator. And here's some images from our Skills Trade Academy. So RC3 is on Instagram. So follow us at RC3_HCS. And if you're out about and you stop by and take pictures with us, please tag us in those pictures with hashtag RC3 Future Workers. Mark Twain once said, the secret to getting ahead is getting started, and I believe that's what we have done. Thank you for your time, and do you have any questions of me about RC3?
Dr. Smith, thank you so much. As you know, so proud. And the technology, there was some committees, I know at least one was a technology committee set up. COVID's interrupted all of that. You know, those committees, you may have already said this, are they still meeting?
The advisory committees, yes, they are. So some have not met for the first time, but probably within the next few weeks, everybody will have met. I know skilled trades, culinary, those have met. I think cyber has been scheduled.
Dr. Smith, I think it's also appropriate to note that we have the programming and networking And eventually, as we continue to grow, the possibility of a third prong to that being cybersecurity in our Innovative Technology
That's a
Academy.
possibility, yes.
Okay. Again, just as we kind of grow into that opportunity, that would be available. Dr. Smith, thank you so much. Thank you for your leadership there, and thank you for sharing with us, board members, other things.
Hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the goodies. Dr. Dotson, would you talk to us about sustainable staffing? We started this conversation with you last month. Just wanted to add a couple of thoughts to that.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to follow up with you. I shared some of the hows and whys last month, but after our analysis, we determined that we're currently staffed at about 11.78 students per teacher across the whole district. That's all teachers and aide units equated together. And that is, after working with Ms. Veal and Ms. McKay, we've determined that 12.25 is a number that we can sustain given known budget conditions for the next 4 to 5 years. That will translate to changing our general ed numbers from currently 15.75 to 16.25. If you'll remember, we take those support category of teachers off the top. So that 11.78 to 12.25 includes that category. I will share a couple of things with you just to think about as we learned in this analysis. One is a challenge we face this year is our missing 300 kindergartners. So we're really hoping that those students will come back to first grade next year and we can get back to a kindergarten class that we normally expect. That will have some dire consequences if they don't. Also strategically, because we take those support units off the top of this thing, as Ms. McKay shared with you in the budget presentation earlier in the year, special ed is the biggest category in that support thing, and that is an ever-growing area. Looking at the dynamics of this, if we hold at these levels, which, if we hold these ratios as the ratios that allow us to stay within our budget, and if those special ed costs keep increasing in the manner in which they're increasing, we're going to look to be losing around 8 teacher units a year on the general ed side of the equation. That's what it works out to. And so that is something we're going to have to pay careful attention to. That's not something we can necessarily control. And that's something that we're very proud of, is the support that we're able to give to students with special needs in this district. But that is increasing. Those costs are increasing. And if we're capped at a certain level, that is going to start impacting general ed in a negative way. So thank you.
Questions for Dr. Dotson? Okay. We'll flow into financials, and I think you'll see part of what Dr. Dotson was referring to when we take a look at some of the maintenance of effort piece that Ms. McKay has for us.
This presentation will not be near as exciting as the RC3, so I wish I had gone first and not last. Earlier this evening, though, you heard me give a brief narrative of the general purpose financial statements for September 30, 2020. This is more informative presentation of that financial position for the fiscal year October 1, 2019 through September 30, 2020. On this slide right here, Hoover City Schools saw an increase of $6.7 million from prior year ad valorem tax revenue. These receipts include property as well as automobile ad valorem tax. Home sales increased with record low mortgage rates and the highest sales price pace since 2006 due to tough market competition. The opposite, however, is true for auto sales, which took a massive second quarter hit. Our auto factory shut down or began producing ventilators and masks. So that's just a little bit about those ad valorem tax receipts. But again, we did very well for 2020. Next is our sales tax receipts. We saw a slight decrease of $38,215 from prior year sales tax revenue, with brick and mortar stores closing due to the coronavirus. I do believe, though, with consumers slowly returning to work and the holidays fast approaching, that we will see an increase in retail spending fourth quarter. And if I need to slow down, please feel free to speak up. On this one right here, I'm just reflecting that the September 2020 ending fund balance reflects an increase of $465,224 from 2019. And how did we get here? If we go to the next slide, you'll actually see this is a presentation of that financial statement that you saw in your financial packet. So this combined statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance is similar to an income statement. The general fund and the capital projects fund saw an increase in our reserve or savings. This is a result of increased ad valorem tax receipts and the progression of our capital projects. The opposite is true for the special revenue, debt service, and the expendable trust funds. Due to COVID-19, our CNP program actually took a $1 million swing, where they normally have a $250,000 savings. This year, they took a $750,000 hit. So we had to dip into their reserves. I will say that Melinda Bonner has done an excellent job in trying to manage the system. We have employees that are out there doing curbside. We're doing evening service. She has not filled 4 positions, and she's trying to utilize where the volume is low, is transfer employees from site to site to help with the volume at those schools. I also want to share that our local schools found it necessary to dip into their reserves or savings to meet the needs associated with instruction. And then again, serving healthy, balanced meals to our students is our CNP program. The Capital Projects Fund reflects an ending fund balance of $5.4 million to cover projects that were incomplete at September 30. So what we did on those financial statements is we transferred $5 million from the general fund, because the general fund would actually look like $101 million, but we transferred that $5 million because that's what we promised we would use for future projects. And I'll show some of those capital expenditures. If you were to take the general fund plus the capital projects again, we would end up with a 7.9 months reserve instead of the 7.5 months if you just take that 96 million. And I think that's important to point out. So 2020 capital expenditures, the capital outlay was 8.8 million. Of that amount, we were able to absorb 7.2 million with state revenues, only dipping into the reserve 1.6 million for capital projects this year. We were able to add buses to our fleet using state allocation, as well as restricted funds from extracurricular trips that were carried forward over a period of time. We replaced fluid coolers at various schools and started a system-wide controls upgrade. Funds are sitting in our reserve to cover the remaining costs. I'm hoping for a completion date prior to year end for that particular project. Our Berry Middle School classroom addition is underway. It actually came in $900,000 under budget. Funds are sitting in our reserve to cover the remaining costs. This project has a June 2021 completion date, and we are on schedule. We updated the playground at South Shades Crest Elementary School, the last of the elementary schools to receive an upgrade. We replaced the bleachers in the competition gym at Spain Park High School. We started the demolition of the Old Bluff Park Elementary School, which is expected to be complete at the end of December, and that's when we will begin our renovation project. We completed the partial roof replacement at Hoover High School on time and $300,000 under budget. But sadly, many of our miscellaneous summer projects, such as painting and paving, had to be postponed. Those projects we were able to complete, though, that $206,000 includes awnings for our carpool students at Simmons and Spain Park High School, and we were able to add a sidewalk at Rocky Ridge Elementary School for our bus riders. The next slide shows special revenue. So aside from capital projects, the 2 areas of instruction that require the use of our local funds are special education needs and the salaries and benefits of our certified personnel. So it would be remiss if I didn't start this or end this particular presentation. I'm reiterating the growing area of concern that I have for our children with identified disabilities. And these disabilities are from speech to autism. Additionally, we have some of the most significant needs, which actually include medical as well as behavioral support. I shared with you during the budget presentation, one of the major special revenue sources is federal funding for individuals with disabilities. As you can see in this table, our total revenues for FY20 were $9.5 million. Our total expenditures for FY20 were more than $18.2 million. That means $8.7 million was funded by the general fund or local revenue sources. Funding for special education is tied to the number of students identified. Since March of this year, we have tested 221 preschool through 12th grade students. And of those 221, we have identified an additional 145 students with special needs. 2 of our new students are receiving a nurse's care. Since March, we have also added 1 self-contained classroom requiring a new instructional teacher. But again, with Ms. Jones' more creative handling of personnel, we did not have to hire an aide for that classroom. I want to drop down to salaries and benefits include $1.8 million for speech pathologists. Professional services include 109 instructional aides and an annual cost of $3.4 million. And one of the transportation, let me jump down to transportation if you don't mind. That includes the salaries and benefits of drivers, aides, and nurses for AM, PM, midday, and extracurricular travel. This number does not take into account the fuel or maintenance of those vehicles. So one of the things I tried to do just to give you an idea of what it looks like with special education. In the past week, I signed invoices for the month of October, and I'm going to give you a rundown of what some of those invoices look like. For speech therapy, we paid $7,350 for the month of October. We paid an audiologist $1,902. Psychological services, $7,375. Health services cost us $21,336. Therapy, $10,216. Physical therapy, $6,285. Articulation language, $8,000. And that's just what I did in 1 week. The total was $62,464. Some of the items that we purchased for our special education students, we purchased 3 $500 kinder chairs with tray, $3,240 for a walker trainer, $250 for a heated potty seat, and $1,700 for a bidet for one of our students at one of our middle schools. That's just what you see on a regular basis. It's things like this that have such a huge impact on our local revenues. And I just think it's important for you as board members to understand it's not just salaries and benefits, it's professional services, and it's instructional or personal items that these students need. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think it's important, Dr. Dodson already said it earlier, it's 8 units a year, Dr. Dodson, at what point, and Ms. McCabe can answer, this is very, very serious. We're a destination LEA. We have students, parents, rightfully so, bring their children here, and we are obligated and we'll take care of them. But to continue the local units that we've been enjoying in Hoover, we've got to have more revenue, or we've got to find another source to take care of this, because we will. What is the cost, Ms. McCabe, for 1% if we get a teacher raise, which we probably will get 3 to 5%? This is coming up.
If you don't mind. It's okay. If you don't mind.
These are important numbers that are coming up here, and it's going to be a real challenge to continue. I know the tax word is not a thing to say, but we still have the authority to raise that one tax at some point. We're going to have to address that, or we get other options to do it. Thank you.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Any other questions? Okay. So the next slide talks a little bit about preschool. Again, preschool falls under the special education. So preschool tuition is collected at the local school, which is Trace Crossings Elementary School. Transportation includes the salaries and benefits of 3 drivers and 3 aides for AM/PM routes transporting 20 preschool students. This does not take into consideration the fuel or maintenance of the vehicles, and just one of those students is transported from the east side of Greystone all the way to Trace Crossings. So that particular bus only has 1 rider. Again, that's another impact on our local funds. So the next slide is maintenance of effort. And you hear us talk about that. We talked about it at the budget presentation, and I'd like to just do a review and update based on our FY20 ending and projected 21. So our actual FY20 per capita expenditure is $11,584, with total expenditures for special education programs in Hoover City Schools just shy of $15.5 million. Child count includes ages 3 through 21. 11% of our current student body has a special need. The financial concern is maintenance of effort must be met either in aggregate or per capita to be eligible to receive funds from IDEA Part B or preschool. Mrs. Jones-Moore continues to meet with parents to offer alternatives for travel and instructional support services that do not require the use of local revenue sources. So one of the things she's trying to do in some of the meetings is meet with parents and see, is there any way that they can do the transportation? And maybe we provide a mileage reimbursement. And that has helped. We do have parents that take advantage of that. That way we don't have to have 1 or 2 students on one of those special education buses with a nurse and with an aide. So that has helped tremendously. And then last but not least, because this also will have an impact on our financials. If you look right here, I separated our certified and our support, and I did a breakdown of state resources, federal resources, and local sources. So what I need you to look at and pay attention to is that certified local source is $19,391,331. That just shows the number of teacher units that we pay 100% out of the local fund. That does not say the difference between the minimum state matrix and what we pay our teachers. And we did a calculation not too long ago. We actually pay above that minimum state matrix anywhere from 11% to 19%, depending on the years of service, the type of degree that they have, the certification. So I want to show you that right there. The support, most of the support is going to come from local sources. You don't get state funding for teacher units, for principals, assistant principals. We do get some OCE money that's set aside for utilities, but I try to use as much of that as I possibly can for our support salaries and benefits. 28% of salaries and benefits for fiscal year 2020 was paid from our local revenues. There are currently rumors that our state legislators want to give teachers a raise in appreciation of their response during COVID-19. I projected the cost of a 3% raise is $4.3 million, of which $2.8 million will be locally funded. The cost of a 5% raise is $6.7 million, of which $3.6 million will be locally funded. Any locally funded portion of a raise at this point will have to come from our reserve. I don't have those additional funds to cover based on our existing budget. So I just wanted to share that with everyone tonight. Are there any questions about our year-end FY 2020 financials?
So just a couple of things. Remind us again how many local teacher units we're carrying 100% salary and benefits?
So when I did the budget presentation, it was 311. Keep in mind that changes daily. Every month that you do a personnel rec, it's up or down, and the salaries can adjust, a little bit. But we have 300 plus local units, teacher units.
And I think it's also important to just reiterate what she said, that we pay 11 to 19% above the minimum salary schedule, depending on the category or the step for our certificated persons. We're happy to do that. But again, back to the legislative pay increases, the end result of that is a sizable difference again to be paid 100% by us if it whatever's above the minimum salary schedule. So, we're glad to be able to support our teachers, but I think it's really important for us to hear publicly and say publicly, we're very likely to dip in reserves to support salaries and benefits. That's never a position you want to be in. You do not want to use reserves for salaries and benefits, and very likely we're approaching that point in time. Again, Mr. Kelly, to your point, whether that is now resuming conversations at an appropriate time for reaching the lid, reaching above, going past lid, whether that's pleading with leadership as it relates to the Amazon or SSUT money, whether that's going back to the table and having important conversations about front door fees. I've certainly said to our mayor, add homes, build it as big as we choose to do so, but let's not forget that there are children that'll live in those homes, and those children will need to be educated and they'll need to be supported. And so again, I just think it's very important for us at this juncture of the process to say to you, you are likely to look at dipping into reserves to support salaries and benefits, particularly as the legislators very well may come forward with a pay increase. And again, we all want to smile and clap and appreciative And yet you need to understand the implications of that on budget. So Michelle, thank you. You made that point well. Thank you for letting me just add a little to that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. That's correct.
Which we don't want to go to large class sizes.
That's not what Hoover was built on, if you remember. So you're right. That's not where, I know, I agree, though. That isn't where we want to go.
Which is what our sustainable staffing process is all about. How do we sustain and support our classrooms without having, I've been in those school districts where and this is not Hoover, and we don't want it to be Hoover. Let me throw that caveat out there really early. But I've been in school districts where you had 32, 35 kids in an Algebra 1 class. Good luck to one teacher. So that's not who we are. It's not who we want to become. But there will be a point where we're going to have larger class sizes and or dip into reserves and or have other funding sources. It's that simple. 3 options.
Yes, sir.
When the state decides to give a raise,
Yes, sir.
are we required by law to match it, to do that 11% increase based on what we do? Are we required by law to do that?
You are not. You just have to stick with their minimum matrix, the salary schedule matrix.
Whatever that minimum is, we can increase that by 3%. We don't have to do it for the entire salary.
That is correct. Yes, sir. That's 2 sets of books, but yes, sir, that is correct. That is correct. Yes, sir. And then the other thing, if you remember, as a board, you have the option to start it in July. So July, August, and September, it's not funded. Or you can wait until October when those funds come in, and that would be a conversation that we would have to have as well. And I ran the numbers. I didn't bring those tonight to see what that would look like, but that's another way that we can save a little bit of money, but there are cons to that as well.
But it just seems like if the state gives a raise, there's nothing we can do about that. We will have to go to reserve.
That's correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Whereas other things, we may have time to do something. If we get a raise, they get a raise, we have to do something.
One didn't show that it'll be October.
That's correct. Yes, sir. And there are pros and cons to both.
It don't sound like we don't support paying that 50%. This is ACF conversation only.
That's right.
I'll just add one other point. The Alabama Department of Revenue just came out with the first monthly report for FY22, and SSU teachers up 61.3% Amazon purchases online, of which that money does not come to us at all. There's a real implication here to us to know the advocates for SSUT or against some fund.
That's right.
All right, Michelle, shall we move into talking about the bond issue?
Let's do it. So starting this presentation, I wanted to just give you some facts about the bond issue. Bonds are sold by the Public School and College Authority, which we all know as PSCA. The PSCA is made up of the governor, the state finance director, and the state superintendent of education. Debt service on these bonds is paid from the Education Trust Fund, and local boards of education incur 0 debt. So let me repeat, we do not have to pay it back. The superintendent sends a letter of intent to the State Department of Education's architect outlining the scope of work and estimated cost. The architect then assigns a PSCA project number and notifies the district and the Division of Construction Management, which is formerly the ABC. The Division of Construction Management administers this project from the beginning to the very end. SDE allocates requested funds per project and forwards information to the Division of Construction Management. Funds can only be repurposed, however, with written communication from the local superintendent to the architect. So I think that's important to know. If we change our mind, you can actually repurpose, but it does require a letter from your superintendent. So continuing on with the facts, the DCM administers all projects to include the architect-engineer contracts, approval of plans and specifications to ensure compliance with our state building code, construction contracts, change orders and/or amendments, the disbursement of funds, inspections, certificate of occupancy, and all payments to architects, engineers, contractors, vendors, et cetera, are remitted by the state comptroller through the DCM. So nothing is paid through Hoover City Schools However, anything that we incur at the district, we will not be reimbursed. So we want to make sure we get this started early. We get a number and a project so that they can handle this from beginning to end, and we're not incurring any of those costs up front. That being said, the bond issue was a total of $1.25 billion. Of that, $912,125,000 was allocated and expended on behalf of Alabama K-12 public schools. Hoover City Schools received $15.8 million. $400,000 was a flat distribution allocated on behalf of each state-supported local education agency. $8.1 million was based on our 1920 ADM, and $7.3 million was based on the LEA's respective share of the public school fund allocation for fiscal year 20. So what are the permissible uses for these funds? It can be used for two things: the retirement of existing debt that was incurred for capital improvements, or it can cover the cost of capital improvements for public education purposes. And this includes the planning, designing, purchasing, construction, reconstruction, renovation, and or equipping of our buildings. It does not include the furnishings, however. It doesn't include classroom consumable items, nor does it include athletic equipment. So those are just some of the services that can be used or paid for from this particular bond issue. To access these funds, which are available or were available November the 5th, the superintendent again must submit a letter of intent outlining the scope, the name, and the projected cost to complete that project. I do have those letters drafted and ready to go. In June, you approved these capital projects with the much anticipated bond proceeds. We allocated $2.843 million for partial roof replacements at South Shades Crest, Greystone, Green Valley, Gwynn, and our operations department. We allocated $1 million for an HVAC upgrade at Gwynn Elementary School, and we allocated $12 million for theater upgrades at Spain Park and Hoover High Schools. That does include the architectural fees. With the completion of the partial roof replacements and the HVAC upgrades listed, we will be back to pre-proration scheduled maintenance on existing buildings and equipment, which I think is great. So we haven't been there in years, but if we take these funds and we allocate that 2.8 and the 1 million, we will again be back to where we can just get on the maintenance schedule. In other words, we no longer need to defer capital repairs and replacement, and we can perform everything and all the work in real time. Obviously, we will take advantage of the $15.8 million allocated to Hoover City Schools. But before I proceed with the 3 letters that I have drafted, I just want to confirm your commitment to these projects. Should you wish to have further discussion, of course, a work session, I'm available by phone conversation, but I would like to have an idea of where to go moving forward. Again, the letters were due, or they weren't due. You could start sending in the letters for projects November the 5th. The sooner we get them in, obviously, the faster we get a response and we can get the work started. So I would like to be able to do that. I just need to know what direction we're willing to go in
Is
as
there,
a board.
is there a deadline?
You have to use the funds within 3 years.
Okay. But as far as getting the letters in?
No. All they said was the sooner you get them in, the faster we get them processed, because we're all working on that November 5.
If we move forward, say with what's here and something changes along the way, is there a way to go back and make any adjustments to what we've allocated the money to?
So again, we can repurpose. It'll take a letter from the superintendent to do that. So yes, we can actually reallocate, repurpose those funds. Now, some of the projects we've talked about are going to take from architect, planning, and
Absolutely. It's
drawings.
gonna take a
So
lot.
just remember, we've got to keep that in mind as our time frame. We have 3 years from the date that they issue it to the date that we complete the project.
So given that, is there a downside to going ahead and moving forward with the letters for the projects you've allocated, knowing that
Right.
we could repurpose if needed?
Well, let me just say, what I don't want to do though, is say we're going to do these 3 projects and start spending money on any of the 3 and then change our minds, because we won't get those funds back. So that's really where I am. I just want to make sure.
No, I would not, in asking the question, and I think Ms. Madonna probably felt the same way, that no, we wouldn't start spending any money. before we were absolutely 100%. So if we need to have a conversation, or if you guys are good, I would want input now. If we would like for her to move forward with these letters, to give her the go-ahead, but if there is questions or concerns with any of this, then we can have a conversation at a later date if you wish, or we can have it right now. I mean, it's at the pleasure of everyone here.
I need updates on the Spain Park and Hoover High School theater. I'm all for it, but that's been, I think we talked
Just
about
to
it
get a
some
little bit of
but we had some
updates.
Presentations, I think, before that. You know, without question, we're going to have to spend the money, the 2.84 and the 1 million at HVAC. That's got to be done. That's no
Yes,
option
sir.
there. Okay.
Whether it comes from the general fund or whether it comes from the bond issue, those are things that have to be completed.
Okay. The third item, I think, is the variable, unless there's something else the board wants to list as capital expense. This has to be new projects too, right? This
That
can't
is-
be diverting money.
Again, it can be renovations, so you can do a renovation project. It doesn't have to be new construction. No, sir, I can't. It's too late for that project, for this project.
I think the only thing that might be in question, and please, anyone correct me if I'm off base, would just be maybe the dollar amount. Is that a substantial enough to go forward with theater upgrades, et cetera? Is it too much? What are we looking at? I know we've thrown out some different, I think we've sort of thrown out anywhere from 9 to 15 even, in just some discussions. And I think maybe before we do move forward, we need to decide if that number is the right number. Maybe that's sort of where we are, because if we come to some consensus that 12 million is not enough or it's too much, then we need to think about that in our next step. If we think it's not enough, then we got to figure out, can we move forward and add to it? Or if we think it's too much, then we may have a 2 or 3 million that we could do another letter to something else. And it might be good if we did that all at once.
I will share with you, board members, last week, I took liberty to sit back down with our 2 high school principals and both of their theater directors to talk to them again about what they were interested in, what they wanted to share with me again. I really took it from the position of a $12 million commitment is big. And it's very important that we are committed to do this, that we need their commitment. Is this what they want? Is this what they're interested in? What does this look like? So took the time to walk back through that process with both of those principals and Dustin and Nancy, our 2 directors, just to ensure their commitment and their interest in what do we do and how do we do it. And I will say, I have from Hoover High School, and I didn't require this, so I don't have one from Spain Park, but Hoover High School actually provided me some additional information about their programs. I asked them to take a look at their programs in terms of a 3 to 5 year review of the number of students involved, the kinds of performances that they're having, what is audience attendance. In other words, what does our program look like right now? And if we're thinking of adding a facility, what is the size of that facility? Because you certainly don't want to have a large seating capacity with a nominal audience there. And so we talked through all of those pieces. So I'm happy to get you all copies of what Hoover High School shared. And Mr. G, I know your folks are happy to do the same. Oh, I'm so old, Mr. G. Did you do that? I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I think you're absolutely right. I do stand corrected. That That's right. I can get to you both, Spain Park, I think only because I had one in my hand, I forgot the other. I'm sorry. Thank you. We can share with you from Spain Park and Hoover High School what they've most recently shared and said to us, and even back up some of those earlier conversations too. So,
I'll just be as blunt as I can. I heard Dr. Dotson talk about issues with sustainable staffing. I've heard Ms. Michelle talk about issues with teacher units and budgeting things. We have to be, it's almost like we're at a money point where we have to be perfect on this. And we can't have any cost overruns this time. All right. And so I think it's worth, I'm otherwise ready to move on doing this because I think it's worth it and I think we need it. But it's almost like we have to be perfect and we really can't have any mistakes because where is the money going to come from, Michelle, if we have to have a $2 or $3 million cost overrun?
That'll come from our reserve.
To your point, we need to get it right.
Exactly.
We need to be right on this.
So yes, we are going to have another conversation about this. And we will get back with you on when that will happen and so that you're prepared and that we are prepared and we have information in front of us from the two high schools so that we can look at that in depth a little bit more and make an educated decision moving forward.
Do you want me to proceed with the first two?
Does
Or
anybody
wait
have a
until-
problem with
or
that?
Wait until we meet.
Surely we're gonna have this decided in the next couple of weeks. I don't want this to kind of float on until 2021 and float on until 2022.
And we don't have that kind of time with the bond issue.
Yeah, I'm ready to get it going. So whatever we need to do.
I would encourage that the two letters we know we're ready to go forward with, let's go forward with it. Have the conversation about our theater initiative and then be ready to roll that when that time's appropriate. I think Michelle and I are anxious to get that part moving.
Sure. Everyone okay with that part? We will move forward with those two and we will have a discussion about the remaining $12 million.
That'd be perfect. And I can be available anytime, morning, evening, during the day. So y'all just pick a date and let me know. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
There was one item that I failed to put on the agenda, so I always try to put an other on there, but I failed to even put other on this agenda. But I have asked Dr. Tamla Maddox and CSFO Michelle to take a review of our assistant principal salaries. We have created it was unintended, but there's a consequence here that's impacting us as it relates to our assistant principals. Our assistant principals at our high schools salary is, now they may argue with me, but it's high and it's at a point where when we have a principal position open at the elementary or middle school, we're having trouble even tapping into our high school assistant principals for them to want to take a principalship because of where their salaries currently are. Now, that does not mean I'm proposing that let's go cut assistant principal salaries. Whatever is done, those salaries or those individuals who exist in those positions would have to be grandfathered. But we've designed something wrong here, and it just kind of happened with time. But I think it is important for us to fix this because otherwise we have assistant principals at our high school who have no motive and no incentive, at least from a financial perspective, to serve in leadership positions as a principal at the middle and the elementary schools. And that's just not good. We want all of our assistant principals to want to take that step into the principalship if he or she wants to, and not to be reluctant in doing so because financially it doesn't make sense to do so. So Dr. Maddox and Michelle, I've spoken to both of them and they're willing to lead that. And I'm going to ask them to put an appropriate committee together and to begin looking at that and working on that, and over time, over the next few months, likely to come back at least to report to you.
Thank you. Anything else, Dr. Murphy? from you?
Oh, yeah, one more thing. We continue to look at substitute teacher issues in our school district, and to be thoughtful about how we can get substitute teachers into place. And so that is under review, under conversation. And so likely we'll share additional information with you in the next, if not next month, certainly January. I would anticipate there'd be some information to share with you about substitute teachers and how best to get those services for our school district.
Thank you. Is there anything else from the board this evening? Okay, our next board meeting is scheduled for December 14th. Right now, I need to entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss general reputation and character, physical condition, personal competence, or mental health of individuals, the good name and character, reason for executive session. I need a motion and a second. Second? All in favor? We have to do roll call. Ms. Natterville, will you do a roll call vote, please? Yes. Thank you. The board will not reconvene after the executive session. If there's nothing else, we are adjourned. I know. Awesome. Oh, yeah. I know. I know, exactly.